Thank you for joining me today. I just want to talk about prenatal vitamins, especially for those people who are going to be conceiving, those people who are already pregnant, and those people who are lactating should be on prenatal vitamins. But how do you know which one is the best? Well, let's talk about through some of the science behind it. And all prenatal vitamins have some sort of folic acid that's within them. So folic acid is shown to prevent spina bifida and neural tube defects, we call it, but basically a lot of neurological malformations in the baby. So folic acid is great, sort of. Well, let's put it this way. Folic acid is a substance that's purely man-made. It doesn't actually exist in nature. In nature, what it is methylfolate and folinic acid, and you know these are substances that exist in nature that the body can metabolize very easily. But if you were talking about synthetic folic acid that's man-made, it's not very easily digested or metabolized. Number one. Number two, those people who take folic acid, especially if they have some sort of genetic mutation that have trouble activating them, and you might have heard this, is something called MTHFR mutation, methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase mutation, and a huge percent of populations are actually affected by it. That folic acid may not be doing as much as they want to, but what we do have is something called L5 MTHF, or methyl tetrahydrofolate, and these are activated forms, already active forms of folic acid derivative, as you will. But that not really a derivative, but they actually do exist in nature, but our body's more able to utilize this stuff. And so those people, and a lot of people don't know they have this genetic mutation of MTHFR mutation, and when they do take the prenatals, that folic acid, while it does well in preventing a lot of neural tube defects, well, it may not do well in the body, and here's why. So when folic acid is ingested into the body, it becomes floating around. And if you have problems metabolizing folic acid into methylfolate, or methylating folic acid into methylfolate, what happens is that you have upregulation of unbound folic acid. And believe it or not, when you have unbound folic acid and towards the later trimesters and after delivery, when you're making that breast milk, the epithelial cells in the mammary glands, basically a lot of the cells that are involved in producing breast milk, have upregulation of something called folate binding proteins. So they bind to folic acid so that the baby can ingest it. Well, that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing for most babies. But what happens is instead of the baby getting folic acid, what they should be getting is methylfolate, or activated folic acid, so they can better metabolize it. Why is this? Because the baby may have a inherited genetic condition from the mom in the MTHFR, or methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase enzyme, and the baby may not be able to break down that synthetic folic acid that's bound to the folic acid protein in the breast milk. It sounds really complicated, but here is the lesson from that. Get a prenatal with already activated folic acid, and you'll see on the label that it says L5 methyl tetrahydrofolate. It's in the description, so you don't have to write it down hurriedly. So if you just look at the description, I have it there for you. In fact, I included the link of one of the ones that I highly recommend as well. So that's one issue. Another issue is that if you are pregnant and you have thyroid problems, okay, you definitely need to take these higher forms or better forms of supplements. Why is that? Thyroid needs to be very closely monitored during pregnancy because the thyroid hormone can affect the baby in a very dramatic way. Also, genetically speaking, when the baby's in the first trimester and the baby's forming these organs and parts and limbs and all these things, they require a very different nutrition than they do in other trimesters, not semesters, other trimesters. And what are the things that they need? Well, they need that folate, or activated folate, L5 methyl tetrahydrofolate, to stimulate the growth of their neurologic organs, neural tubes, and everything like that. But also, they need thyroid hormone. And thyroid hormone, if you're hypothyroid, if you're on the low side of the thyroid, it actually it actually deactivates methylation or activation of the entire B vitamin complex, whether it's B6 and B12. Folate is actually one of the B vitamins. And to support that, you need prenatal with riboflavin in it. So most prenatals have some sort of B complex that's dedicated to pregnancy, but make sure they're methylated forms as well. And also make sure you work with your doctor to get thyroid under control. You want that TSH level very under control during pregnancy, and especially during pregnancy, to support the baby, support the mom, support the methylation pathway, support getting rid of junk DNA, support getting making new DNA for the mom and for the baby. So that's going to be very important. Also, you want to work with companies or get some companies who are very passionate about not just the active ingredients and what you see in that ingredient label, but the inactive ingredients, what they don't have on the label. So a lot of companies actually run analysis of the inactive ingredients, and they test the inactive ingredients to see what it does in the human body. So that's also going to be very important. How do you know they do that? You're going to have to call the company. There's no way around it. You really have to call the company to see, hey, do you test your inactive ingredients? What media do you grow your silica on that's a filler for a tablet, if it's a tablet, or a capsule? So a lot of these things that you want to figure out. Okay, prenatals, a lot of prenatals are labeled very fancily and they're very expensive. And people kind of go online and say, hey, which is the best prenatal? There's not really a best prenatal. There are better ones, and these better ones are the ones with the activated B complex that's within them. And some really good ones also include DHA, which is one of the omega-3s. And so the DHA is required for the baby's brain formation, so it's a very important nutrient as well. So B12, B6, riboflavin is B2. Small amounts of niacin can be helpful as well, although some people with genetic deficiencies want to avoid higher doses of niacin with the MTHFR mutation for very complicated reasons. But small doses of niacin can be very beneficial as well. And lastly, you cannot out-supplement a bad diet. So if you're having a very bad diet, if you don't eat well during pregnancy, if you eat a lot of sugary and starchy things but don't include a lot of vegetables, that's not so great. Now, why is that? Because natural forms of B vitamins, folic acid and riboflavin, B12, good quality meats, good quality vegetables, these are the things that support not only just the baby's development, but our body's metabolism, and making sure you eat nice, clean things that aren't prepackaged, because prepackaged foods have very hidden items that can present as toxins within the umbilical cord once it goes through certain breakdown. For example, cyanide can be in a lot of different foods, especially if you're around Houston, which I am, around the Gulf of Mexico. You have a lot of erosion the last couple of years in the Gulf of Mexico. You find that cyanide and arsenic levels in the actual topsoil. And so you want to make sure that your food comes from a good place. You eat nice, wholesome food. Forget the prepackaged food. I do not recommend it. Also, a lot of prepackaged food and enriched foods are enriched with folic acid, but it's not the right kind of folic acid as well, so it may not be the best either. So good quality foods, plenty of vegetables, plenty of natural sources of B vitamins like leafy greens, eat the colors of the rainbow, eat some berries, and make sure you cook your vegetables as well, especially for those pregnant moms who want to get rid of some of the bacteria. All right? Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.